there, listeners. Thanks again for tuning into Sin's Workshop. It's been a while. I got very, very sick, and I just couldn't seem to get better no matter how many antibiotics I was on. But I'm finally better. I'm still congested, but that's mostly just due to allergies. So, yay! But my son is sick again, so it's only a matter of time before I get sick again. Oh dear. In any case, today we're going to be talking about No Filter and Other Lies by Crystal Maldonado. If you look at the cover, there's like a one-liner that, how books have their one-liners that kind of give an essence of what the story is about. And it says, would you lie online for clout? And I think that that's something that's really important. I think a lot of times nowadays, we live in such a time where nothing's really private anymore. Everything is online. We post everything online nowadays. We're on YouTube, we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're everywhere, right? So I think the point of this book, in essence, not the whole point, is about remembering that there's more to life than just the number of likes and the number of followers that you have. I think a lot of times when you join a community, like either a beauty community, or a Bookstagram community, you kind of become invested, and I too fell into that little trap of just like, I want my website to get bigger and get more notice, get more views. So I'm using Instagram and YouTube and all these other fun things to promote my website. And even I fell into that trap of I need more likes. I need more followers, right? And there's a whole big world out there, and that's kind of what Maldonado is really focusing on, because Kat Sanchez, she's an aspiring photographer. She posts all her stuff on Instagram, and she's constantly comparing how many followers she has to how many followers her friends have, her family has. She is basing her worth off of social media recognition that she's not getting. And part of why she's not getting it is because she feels, she is a curvy, she calls herself fat, but she's a curvy brown girl, she is dark skinned, she is Latina. And she feels like that's hindering her. And she doesn't really like posting a lot of herself on Instagram. She just wants to post her pictures, But she's not getting the recognition she wants. So one night in a drunken kind of spur, photo she took for her portfolio of her friend who happens to be white. She takes all of them, creates a fake persona, and posts them in, and lo and behold, she's finally getting the recognition she thinks she deserves. But there is something deeper about it. She feels really unfulfilled in her real life, and I think that's a lot of times why a lot of people tend to dive so much into social media, not just because of the stardom, but because they feel like they're getting something more online than they're not getting in real life. For Kat, and this is why I love Maldonado's writing, because there's so many layers to the storytelling. For Kat, she has a complicated relationship with her friend who has a huge crush on her and who she's kind of made out with a couple times, but she feels something is missing, And then you have her family. She lives with her grandparents, and she goes to her parents' house every Thursday for family dinner, or what's supposed to be family dinner. Her parents had her when they were teenagers. A year after, she was born, her parents got pregnant again with her brother. So here's the problem. They moved out, got a house, and they didn't take their firstborn daughter with them. They have a room, but it's nothing. They don't even know their own daughter. They set boundaries and rules for her. They're just like with their grandparents, and the grandparents, her grandparents are the best. I would have chosen them as parents rather than her actual parents, who, especially her mother, it's a really gratifying moment when Kat and her brother both call out their mother for her bullshit, because she's not the greatest mother at all. She wants to be like, oh yeah, I'm the best mom. She wants to like live in this fake world that she also projects online, but it's not real. Again, she wants recognition for being a good mother because she knows she's not a good mother. And Kat wants recognition. She wants people to see her and get her work because her own family, in essence, abandoned her, So she becomes so invested in Max Monroe, and she just forgets that there's a real life out there, because she's finally getting this sense of fulfillment, this sense of acceptance online that she wasn't getting before. She has her best friends and they're all great, but they don't really understand everything that she's going through. So it's really a powerful moment for the narrative and for the storytelling to see her understand, that she has everything she needs with her grandparents. She doesn't need her parents' acceptance, or her parents' love. She's always going to want it. She's always going to wonder, why not me? And it's complicated. Life is complicated. You got two teenagers who are about to have a second kid. They were probably overwhelmed, so they just took the younger kid. And I'm sure they have a room for Kat, and I'm sure that they had plans to go get her again, but it just never happened. It never clicked. And you know what? Families aren't perfect. They are very much imperfect, and I think that's something Maldonado touches on really well. Relationships are messy. They are complicated. We could look and see what looks like the perfect family all the time, but maybe there's more to the surface. They probably project perfectionism when they're outside, but at home, we never know what's going on with someone else's life. You never, ever know. And that's what I liked. The story is all about going underneath the facade, living outside the facade. We project so many lies, even if they're just white lies. We use filters for pictures. We maybe over-exaggerate situations. I'm just thinking of like random examples. We do things without intending to do things. Life is complicated. relationships are complicated. And I like this story for its realism. I don't really read a whole lot of fiction. I like, examples of fiction that I've read. Mexican Gothic, Alice Hoffman, Hester Fox. I mean, those are all considered fiction. They're historical fiction, but there's some magical realism, horror, fantasy to them. I don't really read a whole lot of contemporary because I like realism, don't get me wrong, but if it doesn't feel real, then there's going to be a disconnect, which is usually why I stay away from this genre. But this is the second novel of Crystal Maldonado that I really, really was able to connect to. Her storytelling, her writing, the layers of depth that she incorporates into the storytelling. It's very gravitating towards me. I find her storytelling to be incredibly relatable. I find it to be very realistic. I find it to be relevant and heartwarming and gut-wrenching, and you are able to connect to the characters. You're able to connect to the storytelling, and you're able to connect to the plot because she has such a consistency with her writing. She's emotional. The internal narrative is just like, this sounds like a real person. It doesn't sound fake. It doesn't sound forced. It doesn't sound like, let's see how I can dramatize the scene, because a lot of contemporary fiction does tend to dramatize a lot, which isn't a bad thing, but that's just, if I want dramatized fiction, I'll watch TV. But that's why I really love her storytelling, and that's why I really love this book, because of all the layers that are in this story. You think it's just about a girl who wants recognition online, but it's like, why? The story makes you question why without really, thinking about it. It just sort of clicks. By the end, you're just like, okay. As pieces fall into place, you start to understand, all right, she wants recognition because she was kind of abandoned by her parents. Her parents don't know her. She has a half-brother that she has a strained not a half-brother. She has a little brother she has a strained relationship with. She spends hours, and I think we've all felt this, when we spend hours creating something, creating art, and then no one really pays attention to it, especially when we pour our everything into it. We feel very despondent, we feel depressed. It's just, we spend hours on something. We want someone to like it and recognize our hard work. I think that's just human nature to want recognition. And you feel that, you definitely feel it. So I have to give No Filter and Other Lies 4.5 out of 5 stars. It really is a good book. Excellent. Again, I don't read contemporary fiction, but I personally did love this book. Huge fan of Maldonado's writing already. I think she is standout. So, again, give this book 4.5 out of 5 stars. Please remember to support the author by purchasing the book at your local bookstore or online book retailer. I ask that you, go on Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, bookshop.org, IndieBound, Book Depository. I just ask that you avoid Amazon, because when it comes to books, books are cheaper on Amazon, but then they're undercutting the amount of profit that the author makes. And you sell them at list price at the bookstore because bookstores employ more people than Amazon warehouses do. The books are just kept at a warehouse. That's it. They don't have to pay labor. So, support your bookstores. On that note, I hope you all continue to support me by liking this podcast, subscribing to it, and sharing it with all your book-loving friends. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. And as always, Happy reading.